Hi there. This is a story about one of my D&D 5e games. This is the story of the Tarrasque in a jar. About 4 years ago, I hosted a game for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It was a homebrew world, one that I was making up as we were going, and I hadn't really figured out what I wanted to do with the story, apart from that I wanted slaying gods to be part of the story. Early into the adventure, I'd read online about spoof items in Dungeons & Dragons, like the Ring of Thunder detection that's at melee range, and goggles of true seeing that are transparent. And I thought I wanted to make my own. So I decided to introduce an NPC who sold some of these weird but useless items, and I would hide inside these useless items one item that was incredibly dangerous, similar level of power to the Deck of Many Things. So I thought, why don't we introduce an item that has a real-life, contained Tarrasque? Introducing the Tarrasque in a jar. The Tarrasque in a jar is a magic item, legendary of rarity, that can only be destroyed on a successful 20 or higher strength check. After it is destroyed, a large, scaly monster of CR 30 is summoned in a space within 30 feet of you. You can attempt to make a wisdom check to control the Tarrasque for up to 1 hour. After which, the Tarrasque regains its own volitions and choices and does whatever it sees fit. Very similar to the Icewind Dale scroll of Tarrasque summoning that was released a couple of years after I created this item. My adventurers saw this item being sold by a mysterious elderly gentleman who claimed to have picked it up from a robed stranger from out of town. They didn't believe him for any of his items, but thought it would be funny to buy the Tarrasque in a jar. A couple of sessions later, after saving the town from a couple of issues like goblins and monsters, they got onto a train, the first train ever to be released in the land. And they used the train to head towards the main city. On the train was a couple of very interesting people, powerful entities who had been given first tickets on this first ever train, including a hero who goes by Matthias. For players, we had Zoldus, the monk, Cooper, the turtle wizard, and we had Dig, the cleric. They were all sitting on the train enjoying themselves when they hear a gaggle of excitement as walking in with his arms surrounded by women is this huge hulking figure in platinum armour called Matthias. Grinning and smiling, he's wandering through the train, seeing everybody and signing autographs, and he reaches the party and looks down towards them. And he talks to them, addresses them, jeers and laughs, but in a happy, jovial, not too horrible way. The party finds that they are curious at his capabilities. They talk to him and share magic items and question what they have on their inventory. And eventually they bring up the Tarrasque in a jar. Matthias, the NPC, asks them, "Can I see this thing?" And the players offer it up and have a look at it. Now Matthias is written to be this boisterous, happy, joking fellow. And so he picks it up and looks down towards it and says, "Oh, it's only little. This isn't anything." And he rolls a strength check. Matthias's fists close around the jar and break it. It was at this moment the players realised that the Tarrasque in a jar was real. From a Dungeon Master's perspective, it was a perfect time for them to learn not to trust everything, but to trust some things a little more. The cart exploded, the roof of the train breaking off and flying off down the hillside. You hear a roar, a growl, as everyone in the cart panics, loses their wits, and runs in fear. The Tarrasque is just fast enough to keep track of the train, but not fast enough to catch up with the train. A hilarious Benny Hill running theme follows as the Tarrasque is just chasing this strange metallic object that has released it from its prison. The party panics. If they do not find a way to deal with the Tarrasque before they reach the city, then the city will be destroyed. Running through the entire train, they search for anyone with magical capabilities, anyone with the ability to cast some form of banishment spell. One by one, they find that multiple powerful wizards are here, and they begin gathering them together. The wizard had reached the Tarrasque at this point, and beckoned out to him, reaching out. He makes a wisdom check. 21 succeeds. The Tarrasque is servant to him. And for an hour, he asks him to just casually walk with them. The wizards are gathered, grouped together, as everyone panicked and stressed, trying to deal with the Tarrasque. One by one, the wizards begin casting a spell. Long and hard, they try and banish the Tarrasque. The wizards ask the players, "Where do we send it? Where do you want this Tarrasque to go?" They say, "The 9 hells. Send it to another plane. Send it somewhere where we'll never see it again." And with a crack and a whistle, the Tarrasque was gone, and the now open-topped broken train was left in peace. The crowd cheered and whooped in relief and fear, because they'd simply put a cork on a stoppered problem. But it left them with so many questions. Where did the Tarrasque jar come from? How did he succeed in doing so? Who was even responsible? And what was going to happen now that the Tarrasque was in hell? But that wasn't really stuff that they had to worry about for now, because when they got to the city, they had a god to slay. And maybe that'll be another story for another time. But for now, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this little Dungeons & Dragons story.